All right, guys, this is one of the most massive padlocks I think I've ever seen. Heaviest, too. This thing is a KASP model 190 and a 70X. 70 meaning that's the width in millimeters. There you go, 70 millimeters. So just a massive lock. 3 pounds, 8 ounces. This thing, I couldn't throw this thing across my yard. It's so dense. Anyway, it also has a 14 millimeter boron alloy shackle, so your chances of cropping your way into this are zero. Yeah, absolutely zero. Even getting a grinder with these with the shield on here, by the time you get a couple of thick links of chain, it'd be really difficult even to get in there to access that boron shackle to try to use a die grinder on. Just a tough lock. And it better be. I had to buy this thing from a dealer in the UK. They don't often come up for listing. And when they do, they're quite expensive. I've seen them listed anywhere from $80 to just under $100, and that's not where they get you. They get you on the shipping. Shipping between $60 and $75 to ship from the UK. I can't believe it. So bottom line, 140 bucks. That's about what you're looking at. Maybe a little more, depending on which week you buy it. Great looking lock. Couple of drain holes. Got a drain hole here to let the water out from when it goes down the shackle, and another one on the bottom. So pretty well designed. Got a little plate here, and the core obviously is removable on these. On the website, they say this has a 6-pin anti-pick lock, and they say it is a special paracentric keyway, and I can understand that. All right, had a couple of questions about these lately. Let's take a close look. You notice this little guy here. I've talked about these before. We find them on some Schlage and Stanleys, and I've had a lot of questions lately about people finding these little plates. These are nothing. They do not affect us pickers in any way. All they are is anti-drill shields. So if you start drilling, like trying to drill out the shear line, the drill will bite into this thing and it'll start spinning around like a little spinner plate. But in order to pick it, just align it like that, put your tension in, and just go to town on it. All right, let's see how it works. This is what the bitting looks like. So we got really good bitting on this guy. I'll be honest, I did not expect to get a pin tumbler on a lock designed for that high level of security, but that's what we got. 6 pins. At least we have a really low cut one here and a bunch of high cut ones behind it. So at least it'll be a little bit resistant. And when we combine that with the paracentric keyway, which we'll take a closer look at in a minute, might give a pretty good level of security. So we got to align this. I accidentally spun it around. Slide your key in. Rotate it, 45 degrees or so, and then the shackle completely pops out. Down inside of one of these, I think it's this one, there's a screw. We can actually remove the core. We're not going to do that yet. First, why don't we go and try to pick this thing? Paracentric keyway. They say special paracentric. It looks a lot like a standard Yale, but what I have noticed, first of all, it's got a little bit of an extra curve in the tail right here. So I don't know, we're going to find a way to tension this thing. We can always tension it, I think, from the bottom as well. Nice wide. We've tensioned a lot of Yales with bottom of the keyway. Just use the long end, and that'll allow you to get right inside of there. The other thing I've noticed is looking down inside of here with a light. I noticed that the pins are literally just a fraction off of this little ledge, which you normally don't see. So I don't know if that's part of it, or if these are specially, if the pinholes have been drilled just a little bit deeper. I don't know. Let me go and clamp it up, figure out how we're going to tension it, and let's see if we can't pick our way into this KASP 190. All right, I was taking a look at this keyway right before I clamped it up, and if you take a look at this guy, he's really well designed. We have a little spinner plate here. Let's just ignore him. It is fairly standard Yale, but it's got a little more twist to it. So because we have this curve here at the top, I really would like to use one of my top of the keyway, one of these guys. Unfortunately, the curvature of this doesn't allow me to fit one of them in there. So the next instinct was to, well, I'll just stick a bottom of the keyway. Again, the problem with that is I've got to use the long end, and it kind of wedges in there against the bottom of that keyway and just takes away all the feel and the feedback. Kind of wedges in, prevents that core from turning, blocks it. So he's not a possibility. So the designer of this enhanced Yale is to force me to use top of the keyway with an improvised tensioner. This one's not really improvised. This one is from Peterson. It's a serrated top or tensioner kit. It's not designed for top of the keyway, but he does fit in that curve. And as long as I don't push him up against that first pin and wedge him, I think I'll be okay. The other reason I can't use bottom of the keyway, again, I've got to pick from this ledge right over here and go up and around that curve. So I can't use the bottom, but I can't, because the pins go almost all the way to this edge, I've got to take my pick, fit him into, oops, I'm trying to do this without keeping my finger in there because then the camera will focus on my thumb. I've got to slide it in like that and then go around that curve, work it in there and get it around it underneath those pins without oversetting them. So whoever did this did a great job on the keyway. All right, so let's try it. I am going to start out with this guy. He's 25 thousandths, but he gives me good feedback, better so than the 15 thousandths. So let's try it. Let's get around that curvature and then light tension and see what we can come up with. That's 2, and feels like pin 1. I don't know if he's going to go high enough or not. Around the curve again. Okay, I got a little bit of a fault set, not much, but I think at this point this 25 thousandths is not really going to help me because he's getting wedged up in there. So now I'm forced to switch to a 15 thousandths. And from this point on, it's going to be literally forcing him around that edge, which of course takes away a lot of the feedback. Okay, there was 5. Oops. Fell off the edge, which I'm sure was the design. That was pin 6, little click. There's some counter rotation on 3. Got a click. Lost the fault set though. There we got it back. I just touched 6 and we got it back. We were on 5. Oh, got a nice click. No deeper fault set. No open though. Trying to force some kind of feedback. And I got to make sure I'm not getting feedback from the warding, and I may be. This is pin 3. I believe that's counter rotation. Got a click. Lost the fault set though. Got it back. Just touched 6. Come on. That was 5. Again, I believe this is pin 4. I believe that's counter rotation. Got a click and we have an open. Yeah, there's our alarm. All right, let's go ahead and take a look and see what we got inside of this guy. I'm a little disappointed. I would have thought that a lock of this size and expense would have put something quite a bit more complex. I mean, I believe we have security pins, probably T-pins or even serrated. I'm trying to find a screwdriver here that might fit on the side of here. I believe that's too small. There we go. Well, okay. Let's find something to pry with. Okay, the screw came out that side. So that's the side I'm going to pry up, I guess. Maybe not. That's got to be it. I don't see any other screws in this thing. There we go. I'm turning the screw instead of prying, screwdriver instead of prying with it. Man, that is tight. That's a great fit. Looks like it was wedged right there. Here's the spinner. We don't need that. Yeah, talk about a tight fit. Look, you can see the wear from coming in and out, rubbing right there. So really tight fit. Very precise. And there's our lock. I did not want that to come out because then all of the ball bearings fall out. Don't want to mess with that. All right, let's move all this junk out of the way. This is the important part. Let us see what he's got. I do have the key. Circlip. Let's try the tool. See if for once I can get it to work. Kind of. All right. Turn him like that. I am going to use a shim. Like I said, I think there are security pins in here. I don't have a clue what KASP is using. So let's not take a chance. Cool. Okay. I don't see any weirdness yet. Standard, 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 standard. Nothing on the core at all. No modifications to it at all. And I wouldn't expect that from a factory. It's just too time consuming. This is where the good stuff hangs out. And there it is. We have a serrated, actually a barrel, but not real deep cuts on him. We have a spool. Another spool. Pin 4. Okay, there. Oh, another spool. I thought that looked like a ASA, but I was wrong. And I know that spring came out, and I hit him with the tweezer, so I don't know where he bounced to, but he was identical to that. I'm sure one of you guys saw it, but I don't. Not on the workbench. He must have fallen on the floor. All right, let's see what we got on the back here. I will find it. I have a big magnet I generally drag around when I lose pieces. Another spool. There's not a lot of technology in here. Another spool. And the last spring is... Did he fly out too? I need to get my eyes checked. I really did not see that guy fly out. I saw him in there, but I don't see him now. Oh well, we're missing 2 springs now. But again, nothing real challenging on this thing. All we had was basically one ASA pin on the front with not very deep cuts, and then all the rest of these guys are nothing but spools. I had a little trouble getting on some of the pins, but if you look at these guys, they are rounded. They're not V-shaped. So with a thin pick, sometimes it tends to roll off of these rounded key pins. I have a little trouble getting position, but other than that, Not a lot of challenge went into this thing. All right, let me take a look at this. I'm not, at the cost of this lock, I am not going to put that junky core back in there. I'm going to find something else, and that way make it worth our while next time we try to pick this thing. So let me find something, fit it, and be right back. Got to find those dang springs. All right, important stuff first. I found the 2 springs, and for those of you with better eyes than mine, one of them actually flew and was sitting right about here, and the other one had bounced off in that direction and had rolled up underneath the camera and was just sitting right there beneath. That's the battery pack for the camera. So I found them, thank goodness. All right, now what did I do? Well, the first thing I didn't want to use this lock, so I measured how long he was, and I went looking around finding what I had in the bin, particularly the naughty bucket, and I found this guy, and he's about the same length. It was actually double-sided, part of a Euro cylinder, same length and everything. All I did is I cut him in half and then filed that off. So it's perfect. The actuator is also exactly the same, and I slid it into the lock, and it does fit onto the actuator. Why did I choose this one? Well, he came from the naughty bucket, and he is a lock that I have never been able to pick. This is an multi-lock MT5 Plus, and just to explain why I've never been able to pick. I picked every other model of the multi-lock except this one. Here's what the key looks like. We actually are looking at, these are all pin-in pins. So we have 10 pins there. And then we have the interactive element right there next to my thumbnail, a little roller on the end. And then the part that has always defeated me are the sliders. On this lock, the sliders are located directly above the pin, so you tend to get tangled up in there. These are the guys that are really, really difficult if you have any of the high-cut pins. And this lock obviously does. I've had a lot of trouble even getting access. It works beautifully, so it makes me feel good to take a very high-quality lock like this Kasp and put in a lock cylinder that I have never been able to pick. This really makes it very security, very resistant to anybody breaking in. Now, if only I had some stuff to justify locking up with something like this, that would be great. Anyway, guys, appreciate your time. Stay safe. Stay legal.
Lock Lab, where the fun begins.